Aldo humans, welcome back to the Rediscover Human podcast. Thanks for joining us. It's me and brother Josh.
Hey guys.
Is this episode 21? I really should know.
Somewhere around.
I got into the routine of knowing, now I don't know. But yeah, thanks for coming back. Today's podcast, as it's nearing the end of November, we'll do a little bit of news, and then we don't want to dwell too much on that stuff because I guess you could come here to kind of get away from that, and yet we still talk about a lot of it. But Lockdown 3 I saw trending on Twitter. But essentially Lockdown 2, I went to a protest the other day in Bournemouth. Let's start with that. I went to a protest the other day in Bournemouth. Mm-hmm. And it was I've told you already, but I'll kind of share a bit with the viewers.
Yeah.
But I've been to a few protests lately, the Birmingham one, the Bristol one a few weeks ago, which was chaos and carnage. Police just arresting anyone that was trying to speak. Piers Corbyn. I wish Piers Morgan would get arrested. Piers Corbyn got arrested right in front of me. And I was there. I was asked to speak at Bristol, the protest, and I prepared a talk for a few days. Got there, and it was just not a chance of speaking, really. A guy offered me a megaphone at one point, and I thought, I don't really want to speak on a megaphone. I prepared a speech where I want kind of a stud audience that are going to stand and listen, rather than speaking. It's funny, like speaking to an audience, like, what do you call it? Like live talking, presenting to a crowd. I don't know. It's different. Like if you were walking with a megaphone, you just want to say like catchphrases that kind of rile the crowd up. You know what I mean?
Be like a hype man.
Hype man, yeah. But then if you're talking to a gathering of people that are going to listen to you for 10 minutes, and you can, extend it out and tell a bit more of a story and build into it. So, anyway, a guy offered me a megaphone. I was like, not really ready on that. And then 20 minutes later, I saw him getting arrested. And he was like, go vegan. He saw me. I was like, sorry, you're getting arrested, bro. And he's like, go vegan to him again, randomly. But anyway, so that was a bit of a chaos and carnage. So I went to Bournemouth last weekend. I got asked to talk at that one. And I want to take the opportunities to speak, because from the first one I did in Birmingham, and I saw how, when I saw it back on live stream, I saw how divisive I was and quite aggressive. And there's a lot of anger in me, and all the work I'm trying to do at the moment is to kind of find the root of that anger and deal with it and see if that changes things for me personally and then around me. And so going to Bournemouth, I feel like I'd grown a lot, even in that short space of time, and my speech was slightly different. And I got there, and there were two women that were kind of like helping orchestrate this protest, because they knew the police were going to kind of be on us. So they'd faked a location to meet, and they had a few people fake waiting there. So the police were like around that spot, and then we suddenly, but we were all in the park, and they were all hid in trees, the people that had agreed to come to this protest.
So good.
I know.
Pro moves.
It was like so funny to see these like 50-odd-year-old women that were like organising this, that were just so upset with what the government are doing. And it's like, it's no longer just this young angry crowd. It's like actually some mums and grandmas that are involved. And anyway, so then the guy came with speakers and played a Groove Armada song, and we walked through the park, and all these people came out the trees and joined the protest with their signs and stuff. And it was so cool to see. And as we were marching, a lot of the police eventually got to us, and they just kept us walking, and we never got a chance to stop. So we walked through the town, up through the high street. We walked for about an hour, maybe just over an hour.
Were people speaking at this time?
People were speaking on megaphones and on the speakers. There was two megaphones, and there was a microphone connected to the speakers that were getting dragged. But there was never a chance to stop. And they offered me the microphone at one point, and I tried. I was like, go on then, and I was saying a few things. But it was never stopped. And they were like, oh, the police, after about an hour and a bit, they were like, oh, the police are going to let us stop and talk. Because I don't know why we kept on moving, but it was just the energy. Like, we just kind of knew that we had to move, otherwise the police were going to swarm us. And anyway, the police had given us permission to stop and talk, and they were like, Tim, do you want to talk? I was like, yeah, okay, go on then, that's what I've come here for. But it was going to be the speech I prepared in Bristol, but that was again going to be slightly more aggressive, and this crowd was actually more peaceful, and the people there, it was really nice to see and witness the complete variety of people at this thing, and the average age of them was a lot older than I'm used to at these kind of protests, and everyone was more conversive, and there's a few people that shouted traitor at the police and stuff, and that always goes about. But for the most part, I was really impressed with the crowd in Bournemouth, and Bournemouth as a town is just really nice. I was impressed with that as well. But anyway, they let me speak, and I spoke on a megaphone for about 7-10 minutes, not massively long, but I was trying to it was a bit of what I'd prepared, but then I didn't want to get. I realised some of it was a bit, like I say, too aggressive for this crowd, and that's not where I'm trying to be at as well. So anyway, it worked out all right. Got my speech done. Then they were like going to let us speak at one more spot near the town hall. We walked over to this memorial, and there was a couple of other speakers that had been arranged to come down, and they let them speak. Mm-hmm. There was the girl who I met at Birmingham, who was a victim of kind of satanic ritual, like rape that happened to her earlier this year.
That happened this year?
Earlier this year, yeah. I'm pretty sure she said it was earlier this year, and then she's had death threats since then. And it was just a crazy story.
How
like
old
she
was
woke
she,
up in a
roughly?
hospital. She's like 26, I think, 25.
Jeez. And what it was her sort of like?
She was in Brighton at university. This happened in Brighton actually at university. Now she lives in Cambridge, but then she's been victim for I think so. It might be a few years ago, but she's had a few years of like being targeted. But because she eventually like named and shamed the guy that did it. Mm-hmm. That she got raped, named and shamed the guy that did it, and then it's just I can't remember the full story, but she then got taken again or like drugged, and then she woke up in like a hospital bed and all this. It's just a mad story. You might meet her. She got these scars on her back from the actual satanic ritual they did. Jesus. There's like this even pattern of scars down her back, and so she's talking at these events as well, and just sharing her story. You know, it's just the truth of what happened to her.
Yeah, is she all right? Like
she seems really, and she's found God since then, and she's like that's given her so much strength to like speak out against them. And she said she's had a message saying you're going to die by 2021 or something like that, and she's like, I'm not bothered, like I've got God now, like, which is really powerful. Yeah, she's a strong lady. So she was, so we kind of like hung out with her for the day, and then and she talked at the last bit, and it was good that I think the police were there, because the police weren't just all the other ones I've been to or seen online recently. The police are just arresting anyone that's speaking, and the fact that we were allowed to speak, and the fact that they probably heard her story, and they heard me trying to address the crowd and say, you know what, we need to use this as a chance to reflect on ourselves. Things that are triggering us, we have to look at the root of why we're being triggered, because you wouldn't be triggered if there's not resistance in you to some truth. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to be balanced as well, rather than being like, we need to fight against this establishment. And, you know, it's not that kind of vibe anymore. And I think that's how we'll get real change. You know, like Denmark, I think we talked about last time, they were going to impose a mandatory vaccine in Denmark, and they protested for 9 days. And I think it looked like it's a super peaceful protest, and it got changed. And it's like, cool, like the nation came together in a balanced way, and it made a change. And so we just have this real British attitude of like, I get it from like back in the punk days, right? Like, fuck the system, like Johnny Rotten and I Am the Anarchist and all that.
It's a real, there's a real sort of negative feeling towards the police generally, right? And I think, like you said, when in Bristol, and if anyone hasn't seen it, you can find it on YouTube easily, the Bristol freedom protests that have just gone.
Piers Corbyn getting arrested.
Piers Corbyn, yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
And it's an aggressive thing, you know, the crowds are getting intense, they're shouting stuff at the police, and then the police are, you know, arresting people, and it's all getting quite aggressive, and it kind of looks like, you know, there's a bit of sort of fighting breaking around on the outskirts and stuff like that.
Well, I was like 2 layers from Corbyn, and the police were behind me, and they came through me, but like I kind of like stepped aside, and then I kind of like leaned in, and then it was like some of them would come through and they would be like completely like, let's just focus on Piers, and some of them would come through and just barge people out. And you're like, they could be total. 10 years ago they would have probably just knocked everyone over, and you just, you know, but I guess there's so much cameras on things now. I don't know what it is, but it wasn't, they did kind of focus on him, but there was the odd policeman that was like shoving everyone out the way. But
it's hard, like when there's like a primal urge there, isn't there, like when you're in that situation, and even if you go with the greatest intention, I'm speaking from like how I think I'd react, but then if someone like knocks you, it's really hard to keep your cool head, and you almost want to go straight back at them. And I think that's what you saw at the Bristol March, wasn't it? It was just egos of protesters and policemen, and they were just battling each other, as opposed to, like you said, in Bournemouth, where, you know, it was peaceful, people were speaking, people were listening, trying to understand different points of view. And I think, like you said, you know, that's where solutions are going to come. It
was like a reflection. It's like, as much as the people fight, they fight. And it's like the people are more balanced, the system's more balanced. And it was like a complete reflection of the energy that the people that want to make the change brought. So it's like the more balanced the people are that see that we want to make a change, the more closer to a solution and a understanding we'll get between two parties. compared to the Liverpool one where I saw like tear gas being sprayed in people's eyes and all that stuff. But then what was really cool, actually, just a random story there. These two lads came up to me after my talk, and were like, "Oh, nice talk." I was like, "Oh, cool, good. Like, where are you from?" And they're like, "Oh, basically, their story is they'd got rid of their mobile phones, like their smartphones, at the start of lockdown. They were both living with their parents, and like, we need to get out. Got a camper van together, like they're sharing a camper van. They've just got brick phones, and they're just following a whim. And they were like, "Oh, let's go to Bournemouth tomorrow. There might be a protest." They've not seen any promotion for anything. They had like a flat battery last night, and then they had a flat battery this morning. By the time they'd got to Bournemouth, just as they pulled up on the street, the whole protest walked right past their van.
That's nuts.
And then they just parked up and then came and joined us. And then I was like, "Do you guys want to go for a swim in the ocean?" Like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then all three of us went in the swim in the ocean. And it was like, it was just so nice to see examples of, they were like 21, 22. And we were just like, we need to get off the phones and just start trusting like life, and just stepped into that realm. And they're just following these things. I just thought that was a really cool part. But so to go back to now, the news came out this week, yesterday. I'm not sure if you're aware. You've not mentioned it, but you might be aware that, because that was what I was going to say. Earl, a guy who I know from helping organise this stuff, arrange it, he said that he doesn't think lockdown's going to get lifted till February. But the government has kind of confirmed, or Boris confirmed, that it was planned up until December the 2nd, and it is going to get lifted December the 2nd-ish. So I think they're going to allow gyms to open, and non-essential items shops are going to be allowed to open.
Okay, amazing.
So yeah, you can have your gym back December 2nd.
Yeah.
But then it's like we say, I think, are they not just making sure everyone's addictions can get met? You can gym and you can shop. Okay, but we're going to keep all the rest of your freedom.
Yeah, it's difficult to know. I heard someone say yesterday as well that there's big protests planned for London early December.
Okay.
And potentially the fact they're lifting the lockdown is to quell all of that, and then it's just going to come straight back in the new year.
Oh really? Yeah, they could bring it.
So that could potentially be, the thought process of the people who are sort of running the show. But
there is one this weekend in London while lockdown's still in, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes in Battersea Park.
Okay.
Which is a really like peaceful park in London. It's really nice. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But it is a strange one. They're just going to allow people shop and gym, but they're going to keep. Did you hear about the Freedom Pass?
Well, I saw the news about one of the flight companies, one of the airline companies, that saying that you can't travel on their airline now if you haven't got a vaccine. So, and that's with the Freedom Pass idea. That's the angle people have been suggesting for a while, right?
Well, Boris. I think it's Boris or someone. I think Boris suggested that if you have 2 tests a week that are negative, you can go anywhere and live normally. You can have your freedom, but without that, you have to stay limited or something.
If you haven't had the vaccine,
I'm not sure if it's to do with the vaccine yet, or if it's just to do with literally a short-term plan before the vaccine's in place of just getting 2 tests negative a week, and they can open up the country. And it's like, man. And then Trish said to me, "Do you know how they vaccinate cows? They put a swab down the nose, right? And that's how they vaccinate cows." From the beginning, I was like, what if, the test itself looks a bit precarious. It's almost rape in a way, like shoving something in your orifice against your will. What if the vaccine is what everyone's, and you've got to be so aware in the art of war as well, and how people work. The vaccine is the target they probably want you to target. You understand? Mm-hmm. It could be the swab test that they're doing that's covered in it's got some substance on it, and it might not be all swab tests. They might let athletes or something, they need them to carry on, but there might be certain people or groups or in certain towns or cities where they're doing the tests. This has got something on that could cause some disease or something,
The angle I always think about as well is financially, like who's paying for these 2 tests a week? People have to pay up front, or is this going to be free testing that's going to be taken back in terms of tax after? I think so many small businesses are struggling hard because of this, and then they're going to get hit again further down the line with increased corporation tax.
shit, what to make up for the choices that they've made.
Well, the government are spending obscene amounts of money at the moment. You said a stat in a podcast a few weeks ago where you talked about a number, and then you thought, oh, that must have been the full cost of COVID.
I know.
And it wasn't. It was just relating to, one small part. I can't remember exactly what you said.
I think it was for testing or for something which doesn't even flipping work.
And where's this, where are they going to get this money from?
I just saw 400 million is being donated to sports teams. What, they're paying... just to be straight, they're paying players' wages, like 120 million to rugby or something. So they're going to pay these excessive wages? No dig at that, but it's the government's using the money to pay for wages, which is that's kind of a first world privilege to be able to have sport where players can get paid so much. That's great, right? Great. But then when it comes at the cost of the nation's money, which that money could go towards children's school dinners or something, and it's like we're paying for sport to exist because we continue to feed our addictions while giving away our freedoms.
No, I completely agree. And then it's like there's so many arguments within arguments then, because we know a couple of professional athletes. I've been speaking to them about everything. And so for example, I know Exeter Chiefs rugby, they were making £1 million loss a month throughout lockdown. And rugby teams aren't, they're not, they're passion projects for people that own other big businesses. They lose money generally, these rugby teams. Exeter Chiefs is one of the best in terms of they make a profit, but because of everything that's going on, no crowds, etc., they're losing £1 million. The players, and I think all the staff, agreed to take a pay cut. So they were on 75%, I believe, of their wages, and then they were potentially talking about dropping it to 50%. And I completely agree with you. A lot of these guys are getting paid a lot of money, a lot more than the average individual, and they're also doing something they love for their job. But then
I'm not against any of that.
You also look at the longevity of their career. Because a lot of these guys, they'll maybe they'll break into a first team, get a decent amount of money in their early 20s, maybe some of them even a little bit later. And then they might be retiring in their early 30s. And a lot of these guys potentially don't have... England's different, right? England, a lot of professional rugby players come out of private school, but in Wales, for example, a lot of the rugby players aren't. Private school isn't really a thing in Wales. A lot of boys that will go pro rugby will probably leave school at 16, so they won't really have any qualifications.
I mean, that's a whole different conversation.
But that's what I mean. There's so many nuances within this. You can dive down all these rabbit holes in so many directions.
But it's a privilege that we can have sport, and if there is a crisis, and I'm just saying the whole thing I disagree with, but the government shouldn't have done anything from the beginning. It's just a bad flu season, if it's even that. But we've had that discussion so many times. But it's just so, I don't know, it's just points of frustration within us I'm just highlighting.
It's interesting. It's good to see, I think we've both moved in the same direction with it, in that we've oscillated between being really frustrated and looking into everything that's going on, and then going back to, actually, no, we just need to focus on where we are personally, and raising our own vibration and helping the people around us, and hopefully that has a ripple out effect. And I think personally now I'm really settling in that camp. Because partly because I'm exhausted by doing the other thing. But I think it's so important. The people, the powers that be, understand this idea of our thoughts manifest things. And the energy we give off creates the environment around us.
The emotion,
and
thoughts,
so many people are just living in frustration for one reason or another at the moment, and it's creating a negative society in general.
But it's because we have to, every level you go through in life, the level's slightly harder and the rules slightly change, and we've done a lot to get to here, but from here. And we've done a lot of truth seeking to get to here. And from here, this level is the personal truth level. So we can look at the truth of the government and the truth of Biden and the paedophiles that run things and that stuff, and be very frustrated. But now it's time for us to look at personal truth, which is one of the hardest things to identify. And even for me, just as I'm openly sharing, and I've mentioned before. And I've sent you some stuff from Divine Truth. So I've been speaking to a few female friends who were on Divine Truth before me and studying that. And the big chapter of Divine Truth is personal truth. You've got God's truth, which is absolute truth. just the laws of the universe.
Yeah.
Like, you can have whatever beliefs you want, but they don't bend for the absolute truth. And then personal truth is not how you see yourself, it's how you are. It's how God sees you, or it's how, you can have a perspective of like, oh, I'm a nice person, I'm humble or whatever, but it's like, then your actions, are they in alignment with that? And we have such a blind spot to ourselves, which is why certain things, like mushrooms can really, they've done a lot. I don't know if you've had those trips where you just see yourself in a different way. It kind of inverts, it gives you a mirror about, oh, that relationship, I actually wasn't good in that, or like I can see why they were feeling like that. And so personal, you don't need mushrooms to find it, but these two girls pointed out that I have kind of an anger towards females, like, and I had no idea, right? And for the most conversations, interactions are completely fine, but if certain things trigger me, then this rage comes up.
Yeah,
and it's all to do with, so it's an opposite gender injury I carry from my childhood, from my mother. Okay. So trying to control me, trying to instill her rules on me, make me do things against my will. Yeah, there's a resistance in me. So if I ever sense it in a female now is trying to control me or make me do something against my will, then it's like this frequency comes over me that I'm not in control of, which is anger or rage, and it's not, and it doesn't even come out like sort of smashing things. Yeah, it's just like a way I speak condescendingly.
Yeah, it's like automatic, unconscious, and like you might not even be saying something or doing something that shows that, but you'll just be carrying that energy.
Yes, and they will pick up on it. Especially sensitive people, and the people that are studying divine truth are far more sensitive to and they would then, and when they call me on it in the moment, that's like a stab to the stomach. Yeah, because no one else can call you on it, or they just take it, or they don't want to upset you, so they just a lot of girls might just take it and not call you out, or even if they see it, it might just cause an argument and it might escalate. But because I understand these girls have an awareness that they're there to help me, and they say it with love, and that it's a chance for me to just reflect and go, whoa, okay, if they've both said it now, I've got something within me, and it's just helping me to see that personal truth. But as you said, it's unconscious, right? And so the way I've started to understand unconscious now, and I used to be very, we need to like take care of our unconscious, our subconscious, is that that's the soul, and the soul dominates. So you can have your intellectual mind on, and most of us live in the intellectual mind thinking that the world is reacting to our intellect, but it's reacting to our soul, which is dominant, which is carrying the injury from my childhood when my mother tried to control me. That put an emotional injury that scarred my soul, and I can intellectually understand that, and we can talk about it with a blur in the face, but if I go in half an hour, go chat to someone and they trigger me, it's still going to come out. So I have to do the emotional work to release, to let go of that, to heal that injury that's in my soul that is dominating. Like you said, it's unconsciously coming through.
That makes sense. And when you say emotional work, what does that look like practically?
Good question. So it's when I feel the anger in the moment, and when these girls have called it out, and then one of them subsequently sent me a message and like paragraphs, like laying it out, and it's like painful to read. Yeah, and it brings up the anger in me, because you want to respond, you want to be like, but you did. Yeah, and that's what we're so used to, right? And it's like, no, they might have stuff as well, but it's all for me to reflect on myself. Don't make it about anyone else but you in this moment.
Extreme ownership.
Exactly. And so that pillar that you're sitting on has took a beating. Took quite a few ground and pounds. Yeah. Right? And because I
thought it changed shape since last week.
So I thought there is sadness, right? So I've been trying to get to the sadness. But if there's anger, you can't just go to sadness. You have to respect the order. So them pointing that out made me realize it's anger that I'm suppressing, and I'm trying to be like, oh, I'm sad. And it's like, no. So I've been ground and pounding that cushion with anger, like Weck style. Yeah. And then it's helped me to get to like more the more sobbing into my forearm. Do you know what I mean? Through the rage. So I think a lot of us probably carry this like unknown rage to either the opposite gender or even to our own, the same gender or whatever. From we all have many different. I'll have traumas from my dad as well. Yeah. From other things that may be similar or completely different, but so that's just one example of that, and overdoing that and recognizing it in the moment, and then speaking to them, and it's gently. It feels like it's stripping away, but it might still be years of work. Yeah. But understanding it and starting to just starting to understand it intellectually and then starting to process it emotionally, it's like, man, it really feels like scientific. It's like soul science.
Yeah,
like even sense. You know what I mean? To you, it makes it. You have to get to a certain level. You're on this path. You're right. There is stuff in the emotions. There is stuff in the parental traumas that we all carry.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the format? What's the path of like, how do I do it? And it's like, okay, so the more of us that can start to understand and call each other out, it's going to be tough. But then we can all elevate each other and help. And then it just takes a few souls to do that emotional work, because we can have all the intellects that understand the corruption we want, but it's the souls that are actually done the healing that can actually change the world.
Yeah, 100%. And just to dive into that a little bit more from stuff that I've sort of looked at and read about, when talking about family trauma, and like a lot of people can recognize traits in themselves that maybe they don't like that their mum or dad have.
I had the same, You just think it's you for life. You're like, how do I change this?
100%. But it's all changeable. And I think one of the things is a lot of people will hold anger or resentment towards their parents for traits that they have, because they're like, oh, they've passed this to me. But I think what people got to realize is usually that's been passed to them.
Oh yeah.
And you can normally look at your parents' lives and think, all right, okay, you find the source of where a trait that they show comes from, and then you can find empathy for them passing that trait onto you, as opposed to anger. Yeah.
But the danger in that, just to call it in the moment,
go on.
The danger in that is if you can, because I've been doing that. Oh, I understand why my mother does this to me, and that tries to. I'm trying to intellectually validate myself to not be angry. Yeah. But I feel angry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's what a lot of the spiritual path ends up trying to overstand stuff, and ends up denying the truth of the emotion that you feel. And that's why it's a fine line to tread. Yeah. Because I've been doing that, where I'm like, oh, I understand why my mum, but it doesn't make me not feel like upset that I'm trying to be controlled. Yeah. So I need to just express that rage, and then that thought, which is a good thought to be, it's a true thought. It's not their fault that they're that way.
No.
But you have to emotionally live out what I've been suppressing, and then that thought, and they'll click together, and then you can move forward.
Yeah. So the combination of those two things. And then further, in terms of thinking about your offspring, or not even your offspring, in terms of people around you, like your example is a perfect example. You know, females in your life,
hitting on to them.
You're taking this, and it's your responsibility to transmute these emotional issues, so you're not passing them on to other people.
Yeah. So that's, and this is, to use two quite biblical terms, but they're accurate. There's forgiveness and repentance. So you have to forgive your parents, but like you said, forgive them, right? You understand why they did it, boom. But you have to feel the emotion, and then the forgiveness will be natural. If you just choose to forgive, I forgive you, that's not, you know what I mean? Someone knows it. And then the repentance is what I have to do to the females that I've hurt, which is apologize, but also, and it's not a guilt feeling, but it's feel the weight of what I've caused. Yeah. You know, throughout my life of all relationships, I've acted from my, and it's, you know, we can all play the blame game. It's like, I'm acting from my traumas, from my parents, but at some point, like you say, we have to transmute it and stop that line. So through understanding these processes is how we transmute it. Yeah. So then it's that I've got to sit with the not the guilt, but there's that weight of like, man, I am not the guy that I thought I might have been. I've got work to do, and that's personal truth. Yeah.
And then that's how you start working towards your higher self, or like your true self.
Exactly. So you've got the facade you, the injured you, which is like the little boy or whatever, and the real you. And so many of us are in the facade you, and until we acknowledge the injured you, then you won't get to the real you. So a lot of us try and like squash the ego, or a lot of Buddhist practices is just to like overstand the whole thing and not go through the injured you and deny the injured you. And you can get to a certain level, but you almost can kill your personality and desires that way if you're not careful. So it's stripping away the facade to go, you know, the truth that is, I have anger inside me, I have sadness inside of me, I've got grief. Okay, let's use the law of attraction and my scenarios, interactions with females, interaction with strangers, interaction with my parents to trigger those emotions. When recognize them in the moment, feel like, try to live them out, and it might take practice, and then the real me can start to emerge on this earth.
It definitely takes. So in my experience with this sort of thing, is my sort of biggest problem that I struggle with is stress. I can get stressed out super easy, and for me that's trying to heal that hasn't been sort of a straightforward path at all. Like sometimes I'll go for weeks where I feel like I'm making some really good progress and I'm working through a lot of this stuff, and then an event will happen and I'll feel like I'm right back at the starting point. So far the sort of space I've come to on it is you've just got to keep working at it, right? It's a life practice. And I don't know from your experience so far, if you agree with that, or, has your path been pretty linear so far since you've got on all of this?
So I think it's got a lot faster.
Yeah.
It's accelerated.
Yeah.
Because I have a much more scientific understanding of it. Before it was kind of like swinging in the dark. I've got emotions in me. I know there's sadness. I'll use some mushrooms. Oh yeah, have a little cry. Very rare, but it wasn't as direct as this has just given me a much clearer direction.
It's like a formula.
It's more of a formula, you can call it that. So it's like we've all done, and we've obviously done a lot of work to get to where we are.
Yeah.
But this feels like I just understand it so much clearer now, like the logic of it, what I need to do, and do you know what? It's flipping hard. Like we all want just to take another supplement.
Yeah.
We want just another podcast. We want just another book that's going to tell me what to do. I want someone else. I just want another Reiki session. And you have to feel the emotions that are trapped inside that we've suppressed.
Yeah, that's the conclusion.
It's the real
I
work.
came to.
Yeah.
Is the difference between someone doing a practice like this and for example, say a true meditation practice for 20 years it's in my opinion it's never going to compare to someone going and doing an ayahuasca ceremony, because it's that work you learn through that work. And although there's, like you said, there's supplements that will help you in life, and there's stuff like mushroom journeys and stuff like that which can help people, they're not they are a supplement to the work that you need to do.
Yeah.
And there's no short-term fix. You've got to put the hours in.
Yeah. And there's so much suppression within us of emotions, and this is why it's so important. You cannot feel happiness if you can't feel sadness. It's the same channel that it comes down. And what we've done is children live in emotion in every moment of the day. When I truly think how much am I in an emotion, it's very rare. And if it is, it's often it could be happiness when we're like out for a run or something like that, but that could be chemical. It could be during sex. It could be when I eat some food that I like, but that could be chemical. Whereas children don't need that chemical. So it's like when you because we've suppressed sadness, because we've been kind of taught or raised to avoid pain or anything bad, we've suppressed sadness. It's suppressed our ability to feel happiness and natural happiness. So it's completely the same thing, and it's like, and then people take antidepressants to then avoid feeling the sadness, and so then then it stops them feeling happy as well. It's the same thing. It's like you're just going down a dead end road further and further.
Well, that's consciousness, right? Consciousness is a psychic substance produced not blindly, but in living awareness of opposites. It's the yin and the yang.
Yeah,
it's the polarities.
You need
of life.
the polarities. Yeah,
and that's happiness and sadness.
Yeah. So if we've suppressed extreme sadness or extreme anger or extreme grief, we suppress the extreme joy and happiness that can be felt for just being a human on this earth. And it's just like, whoa, like, okay, what? That's why I'm like, this is the only thing I need right now. I was okay with, I accepted the gym's on open and I'm not chasing any sort of physical goals or anything. I'm just on, I've got some shit to deal with.
Yeah.
Let me try and deal with this, and then we can reassess all of that. You know, let's come back. It could be, wherever it's at, that's where it's at. If my passions are still lying that, and I feel like there's something in my true soul and my desire that's something physical, like in my being. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think people around me can sense that, but it's something that's been stopping me being reaching the potential. And I feel like I've been, strong fit, functional patterns, wet method, all this stuff, which all has some intelligent traits. Cool, let's revisit it on the other end of this. Let's do the real work, because that's all dealing with effects. So much of what we do in life is dealing with it's dealing with the effects. It's putting makeup on the skin rather than what's the nutrition like, what's the root of these effects. If I've got some issues in my body, some physical ailments, and I'm trying to deal with the effects, I'm trying to realign my body, I'm trying to take a new supplement to fill in my minerals, or I heal the injury at its root, and then the floodgates open and health comes.
Yeah.
And I feel like all my work has done is helped me to get me to this moment, and divine truth couldn't. So for those who want to look any further into this stuff, because we'll leave it there, and you've watched some videos on it, and maybe we'll do some more in the future, but divine truth divine meaning as it pertains to God and truth. It's like it sums up where it was the spirituality of that relationship to God and understanding how that works. And truth is we're all bloody truth seekers, and it's been so nice to be gratified. I think we're all friends because we have got such a yearning for truth in us, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, and that's not to say for you, do you know what I mean? But I feel like you have it as well.
Yeah.
It's good that we've got that. It's validated, because sometimes you think like people are like, oh, just get on with life, get a normal job, and, and it feels like you're being put down for having this yearning for truth that we desired, and it's right, and it's in us to have a desire for truth, and so this has really helped summate it for me.
Just on that as well, because I don't know if you mentioned this at the beginning, but for people that want to look into it more, where would you say is the best place to start?
Yeah, so sorry, on YouTube, go search Divine Truth. There's a YouTube channel, and the first video is called Overviews. You've watched that one,
I watched that,
Secrets of the Universe, and I'm going to caveat it now because it can be a shock for people. Actually, I'll leave it as a surprise for people to watch, because it's a discerning factor. When you watch it, there'll be something. The guy who's kind of presenting this truth says that will help. It's kind of Easter egg, and it will either put you off, it will make you listen more, and that says something about you and not about the person that you're watching. It
would be interesting actually to discuss this again maybe next week when people have had a chance to look, because I've watched about 5 hours now, and I'm really polarized by it. Yeah, I'm on one side, I'm like, this is new information. I haven't watched anything like this which has sucked me in, where I'm like, I need to watch more for a while.
So I'm about well over 100 hours deep now.
Yeah,
I'm like 3 or 4 hours a day.
That must be, how much has he got on YouTube? That must be
thousands of hours.
Oh, really?
It's so good, and there's so many different. They've got different ways of delivering the message. So there's like different interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the kind of homework for you guys. If you want to go further into what I've shared, I'm not sharing anything that's I've discovered myself from my own. I just feel like it feels innate in my heart, like it's a truth that's written, but I've been taught by this person that's on YouTube called Divine Truth.
It is interesting as well. There's a lot of what you say as a result of it. I feel like I've seen other people that I really respect come to similar or the same conclusions.
It's a lot of pieces of the puzzle coming together, isn't it? And there's nothing that's laid it out in such a clear way. And if the guy didn't say who he says he is, I would say he probably is that guy.
It's interesting because there's a lot of this esoteric stuff, or this kind of the unknowns of the world, right? When you hear people speak about it, it's always shrouded in uncertainty, understandably so. But this guy speaks about it with such conviction. Which is the bit for me where I'm. Well, there's a few bits, but let's leave it till next time once people have had a chance to, and then we'll talk about what my reservations are with it, what I like about it, and all that sort of stuff. Cool.
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Okay. How far in are we, Lewis?
37 minutes.
37, okay. Yeah, we've got a bit more time. We do a lot in 37, I think.
Yeah, we got through a lot.
Shall we talk about my bed?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so for those... last week on Instagram, I shared on my stories my current bed setup. I live in a flat between two other flats and above a lot of other flats as well. I was kind of, the whole EMF thing started to sink in for me a little bit, that it's quite unnatural. Now, through the journeys I've been on lately, I've started to get a bigger perspective on the picture, but still something I think EMFs is something that we should all be conscious of, right?
100%.
That EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, is all the basically radio waves and frequencies that are emitted around the air for us to have phone access, for us to listen to the radio, for us to have Wi-Fi, internet. There's a lot of frequencies going on around. And I think a lot of us are aware of that, right? But we don't know how much effect that has on us. Someone I used to listen to, channel message, called it Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi. And I think it makes sense that it probably does have some low-level stress stimulus to our body.
I think there's more stress than people realise. Like we're electromagnetic beings.
Yeah.
Our heart, our gut, our brain, they're all biological oscillators. Like we give off an electromagnetic frequency, and all this electronics is interrupting that frequency. And for the vast majority of human existence, none of this would have existed, and we would have been grounding every day. We would have been touching the earth. We would have been going in rivers. We would have been going in the sea and lakes, etc., etc. And we would have been like intrinsically linked with nature, and our frequency would have been intrinsically linked with the earth's frequency. And now we're for the first time in human history, we're getting generations of people that aren't on that frequency because they're being knocked out all the time.
Yeah.
And this is when I speak to people, this is my favorite example, when people are obsessed with what's the scientific, send me the study that proves that. And I say, you don't need a double-blind placebo study to just spend a day on the computer, feel how you feel, and then go to your nearest lake or river or wild swim spot, the sea or whatever, after that day, and dive in and get out, and you feel like a different person.
Yeah.
And I haven't had one person come back and say that they don't agree with me on that.
Yeah, did nothing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So that people are quite aware of grounding now. There's a few documentaries on it. Earthing. I've got an earthing map by my computer. I've had that for years. I had a grounding sheet on my bed. We do barefoot walks in the earth, cold swims. But at home, it's definitely still limited how much you can do at home, because I don't want to always have to be stood on a grounding mat. It still has to go in through the mains to the earth. And there's still a load of Wi-Fi. And so sleeping was a big one for me, and I wasn't sure how good my earthing sheet actually, how much of an effect it could have. The Wi-Fi is still hitting you. So what I did was a bit more digging, a bit more research. And I do remember hearing years ago that Tesla built a Faraday cage, which is essentially because of there was only radio waves around in his time. And this is the theory. It might be a completely different reason he did it, but this is what I heard. And he'd build a Faraday cage around where he slept, so that when he slept, the radio waves wouldn't emit into his body, maybe to affect his dream state or just to affect his physical. More modern times, you've got more capacity, and I've watched a few videos on it, and people read readings of the EMFs in their house. So I bought an EMF reader myself, check the frequency. Now I never have Wi-Fi on, that's plugged directly in. I turn it on if I need to do an Instagram video post and it won't upload through 4G.
Yeah.
And then I'll plug in the Wi-Fi and have to do that. Or I'll watch Netflix on my Apple TV once a week or something. Other than that, I'm plugged into the Wi-Fi. But all my neighbours have Wi-Fi. So I found this netting you can find made out of block silver, which they recommend is the best material right now for it. So it's essentially, feels like a nice thin netting, but it's got so much silver woven into it, it creates a complete box around my bed. So I've got a netting above my bed and around the sides, and then below it is a thicker material, more of a mat made out of block silver as well. And so the drapes come down and it connects this one kind of silver box around my bed, and then it plugs into the earth as well, so it grounds to stop all the dirty electrics. So dirty electrics is what comes off through the plug sockets.
Does it go underneath you?
So it goes underneath me.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a full box.
So you're fully inside it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when I go in with the EMF reader, it's pretty much negligible, nil. When I take my phone into the bed, shut the net in, and I search for Wi-Fi's, can't find any Wi-Fi's.
Is it as literal as that? So you can open the
All
netting
the Wi-Fi's
and everything comes through?
Yeah.
Wow, that's mad.
Exactly. So there's real evidence to me that's visceral that it stops the Wi-Fi's coming in.
Yeah.
Now the argument is Wi-Fi's don't do anything, which we've kind of established. We're pretty certain it does something. Now, my dreams have been so vivid. I've been a lot of other things I've been working on in my life, and I think as your health increases, we have a better relationship to our dreams, you know? And our dreams are really there to tell us something. And so I'm having more vivid dreams since I've been doing that. It's a real I love reading the books I'm reading at the moment, some channeled stuff, and I read it, feel like prayer is in the feeling, not in what the words you say, right? It's that longing, desire for God's love. So that, and then I go to sleep. I ask to help me see certain emotions, reveal what the root of this emotion or what this emotion is. And my dreams reveal stuff to me, and I wake, oh man, I've just been having real connections between what I'm praying for in my dreams and what's happening.
So have you noticed, because obviously you've been doing this work a little bit longer than you've had the Faraday cage. So did you notice an increase and then a further increase when you got the Faraday cage?
I did, but there's a few factors. I think it's kind of, I'm not about rituals as per se, but because I'm trying to get off the lights at late at night.
Yeah.
I light some candles outside the Faraday cage. And then I read in bed, and I'm reading books that are all to do with soul development, right? And all this about this stuff, and all about relationship to God. And so there's a whole moment, the hour of going to bed, where I'm like reading by candlelight these books, even though I'm on a Kindle on airplane mode. But it's paper white, you know what I mean? With the light off, because that blasted me for a while. So, and there's like, the whole space is so like celestial, like heavenly.
Yeah.
And it's like creating my future, you know.
I couldn't agree. Like, that has been one of the major things. So Izzy, my girlfriend, she's a meditation teacher. So, you know, but for everyone else.
Yeah.
And she insisted when we moved to Bristol that we have the spare bedroom as the meditation room.
One whole room as a thing.
The whole room. Yeah. And like, generally we go in there around 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. And you know, sometimes we'll just chat. Like, she's got fairy lights all around the room, so there won't be a main light on. We'll just have some fairy lights. There'll always be candles lit.
That's great, yeah.
And we'll just chat for a bit. We might do some stretching, some movement. We'll do a meditation. We might do some breath work. We just kind of mix it up.
I know you're off grid. After like 7, if I message you, I don't expect a reply.
Yeah.
Because you're mostly off grid. By then, 7, 8 or something like that. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I get up in the morning and like I normally, like, if people want to message me, and you'll get a response the next morning.
That's
like
it.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, and having that evening routine where you allow yourself to like switch off, and there's something mentally, like I go in there, I'll put some magnesium spray on from Mo, I'll take some CBD. It's just that whole ritual around like winding down and just like sleep like a baby because as a result of it. And you wake up ready to like go out the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important.
It is, man. I've seen a few companies now popping up quite a lot in short space of time, and it might be because that's what I'm looking at, but on my Instagram, people are sending me links. There are quite a few companies making clothing out of block silver, like hoodies. There's one company, it's like 140 quid for these. Like, so to go back, just to finish my Faraday cage, it cost me just over £1,000.
Yeah.
It's a website called emfprotection.co.uk, or emf-protection if you search it. .co.uk, and I just called up the woman and said, I looked at some videos and I had an idea of what I needed, but I just thought, let's call them up, and they guided me through to make sure I got everything right. Just over £1,000 had the setup. So understand, you don't want to do that. Essentially, you want to move out to nature. Want to live in like a barn conversion in the middle of a wooded cabin or something like that. But for now, I was like, temporary solution, let's explore this. And I like to share it with people. I'm really into science that is to do with health and modern times, how we can like return to nature in a way. So that's the setup. EMF protection, that's the cost. The clothing, I've seen some nice hoodies, like 140 quid. I bought from some website for Etsy. If you search EMF protective clothing, I think I bought like a hat. It's not arrived yet, and I found a cheaper hoodie on there. So I'm just going to try a few things. And it'll be like a town hoodie. Like if I go into the city, wear this.
Oh, you bought it?
It's not arrived, but I bought one, like a cheaper one on it. I saw one on Etsy. I was like, it's not too bad. Let me just get that. And I bought a hat. So that would be like if I go into a city and there's 5G mass and stuff, because apparently you want to protect your organs more than your head, because your skull does a bit of protection. Yeah. So it's like, boom. Okay, so you wear a hoodie over here, protect from the radiation, and it could all be nuts, right? And then I've got a hat, which is going to be like a low key tinfoil hat, isn't it?
I would just imagine like an EMF. Full like hazmat suit.
Hazmat suit,
and you go into town and you don't have to worry about putting a mask on it.
Everything but that. I'll wear everything but that will still be out, grinning, just like. So there's options out there. Again, part of my soul, is just like, just go and live in the wood. You know what I mean? It's like you're making all these steps, but eventually you know what the goal is. But it's cool for now, and it's good advice, because some people don't have that option. They live in cities, so there are options out there.
I think that's one of the beauties of technology, right? We're moving. We're finding what we're looking to do is there's so many people, and like Elon Musk being prime example, is like just trying to develop the tech and go as far into the future as possible in that regard. And then there's people like us that are talking about like ancestral health and how to connect back to nature and how our ancestors would have been and how that's good. But I think there's a midpoint where you can combine like ancient wisdom with modern technologies like this to like go further than our ancestors did. And that's kind of the journey we're on a little bit.
Yeah, at least catch up would be nice. But we'll see if we can do that. I think after this, so for those on the YouTube, I'll put a clip up after this. We'll just go and film the Faraday cage real quick.
Yeah,
I can
cool.
just do that on this. I think we've covered a lot in that time. So we'll just do a quick wrap up, and then for those who want to stay for a bit of UFC chat, there's some exciting times coming up. So we'll go into that. But it's Black Friday. I'm going to be doing a sale on. I know I've had different thoughts about it. You've got, you said like Patagonia, they close the shop on Black Friday, and I completely get that. With what I'm offering, I feel like it's a chance for someone to get a product that's going to help them for a better price. So I'm going to go along with it this year. So I'm going to have 33% off everything, courses, all ropes, all packages on the website, 33% off. I'm not decided the code. The code will be on my Instagram, on Way of the Rope Instagram. It's probably going to be light33 or caps lock light33, something like that. But yeah, if you wanted a rope, you're still questioning that. Not sure. I think most people by now have one actually, because I've sent a lot out. But yeah, so that's all we're on about. And then what are you saying? What's your plan?
So yeah, we had a chat about it and just thought we don't really agree with the like mass consumerism sort of big business side of Black Friday. So we've decided to do a giveaway instead. So we're going to do a 3-tiered giveaway. Top prize is going to be one of everything we've got. So CBD, MCT, lion's mane, cordyceps, a selection of all the bars, and a t-shirt.
And a rope. Did you want it for that?
And a rope. Well, I thought we could do a giveaway.
A different one?
Next month.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then the second sort of runner-up prize, 2 runner-up prizes are going to be my favourite products and Izzy's favourite products. So for me, that's going to be cordyceps and the keto fuel cacao and cashew nuts. And I think Izzy is the CBD and the maple and pea pecan fat packs. Yeah. So yeah, we'll do a giveaway on Friday.
That's nice.
We're going to announce it on Thursday on the Instagram. So that's the best way to find out about it. So if you're not following already, it's APE_nutrition on Instagram. Cool. Website is www.apenutrition.co.uk.
All the links in the description.
Links in the description. And then Rediscovering Human is our 10% discount code for followers of the podcast.
Cool.
Sweet.
Ferguson Oliveira.
Oh, mate, I'm so excited.
That's a hype fight.
I'm so excited.
That's a really good fight. So we've nearly got our tournament, right? Because you've got Poirier McGregor signed.
Yeah.
Ferguson Oliveira came in left wing, but we mentioned that as a fight, and that is just that's like Ferguson and Ferguson 2.0 maybe.
Is that December as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
December 12th, I think. Or 19th, December 9th. Pay-per-views, okay, yeah. So that's Figueiredo might be. So Figueiredo's might be getting fighter of the year, looks like.
So Figueiredo's fighting again?
Yeah, he'll be the only fighter to fight two pay-per-views in a row. Yeah.
Wow.
To be a champion that fights in 2 pay-per-views in a row.
And was that booked before he fought?
No, but
So
him and
booked
Moreno both fought on that same card, both won in the first round.
Okay.
So they're like, and Moreno's ranked number 1. Moreno could have had that title shot and was pissed that he didn't anyway. So I mean, you're kind of killing the division, but who cares? Like, yeah, a good fight. So, so we've got McGregor Poirier booked, Ferguson Oliveira, Chandler. They're saying Chandler's got a fight on January 23rd as well, but they've not announced it. But I think that's Gaethje.
Really? They're going to chuck him straight in against Gaethje for interim title?
Well, he was going to be.
Well, they're not going to do that.
Well, he was going to be the stand-in anyway, wasn't he? So it's like,
yeah,
why
but
not?
it seems weird that they've just brought him in and chucked him right at the top of the pile.
I think you have to, yeah. Like, if he's a champion from it, well, he was.
I've never watched him fight, so it's more difficult for me to comment on it.
You find out, can he single swim in it? It's like swimming with the sharks. So you've got those 3, Gaethje and him, and then you've also got, I think, Hooker and RDA could be like a nice.
Are they good? There's
that's
no
not announced, but I reckon that would complete a 4-man little direction. And even if you just have the winner of McGregor and Gaethje Chandler, those could just fight for the title, and then this could be like a little second tournament going on between RDA, Oliveira, Ferguson, and
so it's they kind of do. Although it's not officially a tournament, they're kind of doing it.
If those happen, like I'm just hoping Gaethje, and that's just not official. I'm just kind of like throwing my opinion out there, like.
So, but they've said they've booked Chandler.
No, Chandler's saying he's booked for January 23rd, but that's not been anything official, and the opponent's not been said. But I could only guess that that's Gaethje.
Or it could be.
It could be RDA. It could be RDA or Hooker. Yeah, it could be any of them's good. Yeah. But I feel like Gaethje, they're going to say the winner of this gets the title shot, and then the winners fight for the title.
Yeah, out of those 3, it does make most sense for him to fight.
It makes most sense. Yeah, because he probably prepared for Gaethje or Khabib, depending on if Khabib didn't make weight or Gaethje didn't make weight. from the previous fight. Then, yes, you got Figueiredo, Shevchenko. I guess it's not too, like, she did what she needed to do. She won. Joaquin Buckley came through, won again. That December, that's what I wanted to pull up. That December 19th card.
I was to say Mike Perry as well. I can't forget Mike Perry.
Yeah,
absolute. Like, although he lost, just the entertainment value.
When
the
his
whole,
song,
the
they put
media
the wrong
week,
song, right?
Everything, man. I think I rate him so highly.
Yeah. So let me read December 19th card to you. So UFC 256 is the one before. They're looking at Figueiredo, Romero for that, right? Moreno, right? December 19th. This is a fight night. Free ESPN viewing for Americans. Leon Edwards, Khamzat Chimaev main event.
Unreal.
Which is going to be sick, right? And this is the last fight of the year. So Leon Edwards, who's been shunned all year, and Chimaev, who's been raising to the roofs all year, are going to fight. And if imagine Leon Edwards, our fellow Brit, and I'm going to sound like the other pundits when I say this, but it is the truth and it's exciting. He could be the biggest middle finger to like that up and coming guy and end the year of just took him out, and then it's like, right, like imagine ending the year with Leon Edwards with a win after the year he's had with COVID, missing the title. He had a title fight, couldn't make it. Or he was supposed to fight Woodley, didn't happen. Got offered the title, couldn't train for it. And then anyway, so that would be nuts. Stephen Thompson versus Jeff Neal, which is a great fight. Anytime Stephen Thompson versus anyone is a good fight. Yeah. Marcin Tybura, Greg Hardy. That's a step up for Greg Hardy, so that'd be interesting. Rob Font, Marlon Moraes is a great fight. Jose Aldo versus Marlon Vera.
Wow.
So the one who just beat Sean O'Malley versus Aldo. So imagine if...
That's a cool fight.
Yeah. Imagine if O'Malley beat Vera and he could be fighting Aldo. That would be...
He probably would have sort of taken that step up.
Yeah.
But he just announced he's booked a fight. You got to know about this. You're a big O'Malley fan.
I didn't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Yeah, he put something up on his Instagram yesterday, a post saying he's booked for January or February.
Yeah.
But he didn't say against who.
Okay.
But yeah, that's good.
And then prelims, you've got Chaos Williams, who just fought like a rapid knockout, versus Michael Pereira, who's like the breakdancing, backflipping guy. So that's a sick fight. And then you've got Belal Muhammad, who's always a good fight. It's just a sick card in December.
Who have you got for Leon versus Chimaev?
It's so hard not to get on hype trains.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'm completely the other end. I think Leon walks it.
You think Leon walks it?
Yeah.
I'd be very happy if I want Leon to win.
Yeah.
But if Chimaev wins, that would be so hype, and that would make. Imagine that. Yeah.
He's scary, man. His interviews, he's like acts like a complete nutcase.
It's like McGregor going from fighting Dennis Seaver to fighting Mendes. Chimaev fought that guy Gerard Mershaw to fighting Leon Edwards.
It's a massive jump.
It's even more than Mendes was for McGregor in my eyes.
Yeah.
Which is the step he made.
And Leon's angry, man. He's had and I don't know if he's that type of guy that fights, if that'll fuel him or maybe it'll take away from some of his strategy because he'll just want to get in there and bang. And Chimaev obviously isn't someone you want to get caught by watching his previous fights.
Yeah.
So that might work for him or against him. But I'm excited for that one. Really excited.
Yeah, we shall see. Yo. So I've got a device that reads radiation. If I turn the sound on, it's pretty brutal. Right. For airplane mode, my phone gets a little bit better. There we go. Colour dropped a bit. Welcome to my bedroom. Put the phone back on. There you go.
So is that like slight buzz because there's still a little bit getting through, or is that just the device being on?
It's really low, yeah, tiny bit.
And what happens if I hold my phone up to that to go crazy? Yeah, it goes right up.
Yeah.
That's in my pocket. So that's in your pockets right next to John McCall's.
Yeah. So airplane mode makes a difference. I've proven that airplane mode makes a difference with this. So as much as you can airplane mode or whatever. But yeah, that's my Faraday cage bed.
back. That's cool. It's quite. I quite like the look of it as well. It's like you've got sort of like a bit of an Arabian Nights.
It's all right, isn't it? These are one of my books.
I film the sword so no one ever breaks in. So that's what's happening.
Yeah. Boom.
That's fucking cool.
Cheers.